Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Gay St Clair, a very well-known person in the Scots community for many years. So thank you, Gay, for joining me.
My pleasure.
Gay, I believe that you were born in Junee, so a Riverina girl. Tell us a little bit about your early life.
Oh, early childhood. Well, I'm actually coming in on Wednesday to do a talk to kindergarten about the olden days. And growing up on a farm, no electricity, so I'll be talking about lamps and copper washing machines and fuel stoves and early transport and games we played at school. I went to a little one teacher, then two teacher school, and loved those childhood days, very free. Loved them.
And then you went off to boarding school in
At
Sydney?
11 I went off. I didn't immediately board. I lived with my grandmother and spinster aunt for a couple of years, but was thrown in the deep end, having to catch a bus, a train, a bus to school, but loved those boarding school days. And back in those days, I'm mindful that many of the kids today go home at weekends, but we didn't. It was 3-term years, and we didn't see each other, parents, all term. And in fact, my sister had a friend from New Guinea. It was only once a year she went home. She came to the farm in the holidays, or an aunt and other holidays. So, yeah, loved those days, yes.
Right. And then what did you do post-school?
My father was a very conservative farmer, and didn't let me go to university. He didn't think education was necessary for women initially. So I did a secretarial course initially. Then Mum and I wore him down, and he begrudgingly let me go to Teachers College in Wagga, which I thought I might do pharmacy, various other things, but teachers stood me in good stead all these years.
Right. And what was it about teaching that appealed to you at that young age?
Just being able to influence young lives, I think. Yes.
Excellent. And your varied background of growing up in Junee in a country environment, then going to the city, how do you think that contributed to your teaching career?
I think it gave me use of common sense and a resourcefulness, I think, those sorts of things. Yes.
Yeah, good. After Teachers College, tell us a little bit about the next steps.
We were indebted for 3 years, having been there on a scholarship. I spent 3 years on the central coast of New South Wales, which sounds idyllic, but the place I was sort of the end of the road on the southern shores of Lake Macquarie, and no young people there my age, only 30 miles south of Newcastle and about 80 above Sydney. I had no transport, and it was a two-teacher school. As I said, no young people when you're sort of chomping to go, and I would have been better at Burke, where they would have had amenities for young people, as I found when I went to Lockhart after that, where they had a little row of units where the bankies and the schoolies lived, and we could mix socially.
So you first moved to the Riverina by going to Lockhart?
Lockhart in 1972, yes.
Excellent. Have you stayed in the area since that time?
Then moved from there in early 79 to Albury, and I've been here ever since. I don't know whether I'm a local yet. But
what brought you to Scots at that time?
Well, I was a parent first. Chris had started at preschool in 1981 and Kate in 1983 when Chris started school. And it was difficult to do casual teaching because preschool operated on morning afternoon sessions. But in the year between, I did a bit of casual teaching here and with government schools. And then in 1995, the then kinder teacher took long service leave, and they asked me to fill in for the term, which I did. She came back for the following 2 terms, and then she left. And so I was asked to job. I've never had to do a job interview. I was asked to come on board in 1986 from here. And it was only, I'm not sure what year we changed to 4-term years, but yes. And I didn't have to teach my children, which I was grateful for.
Yeah. So
and they probably were too.
I'm sure. So you started here first as a parent. What's the appeal of Scots for your children's education?
I think that family feeling about it all. And it had not long become such that there was 7 grades and a teacher for each grade, because as you know, when it moved over from Woodstock, I think it only came with 3 or 4 teachers and gradually grew. And the involvement of the staff with everyone, and yes.
Can you describe those early days as a teacher when you first started here at Scots? Because I hear you've been a much loved infant and kindergarten teacher. What was the junior school like in those days?
Well, when I got pigeonholed or stuck, I've taught other grades, but I think that first year of school is very important, and whether others thought that that's where I belonged to, but And I was happy because you have different children every year, so it's not quite the same. And the junior school, well, you know, we started doing our productions back then. Prior to, when my children were in infants, there might have been a sort of simple little musical nights, but we started doing full-time productions, and just it was good. And I was just looking through some photos in archives this morning, that involvement with PWSA and all sorts of things.
Productions then sort of became a feature of your involvement in the school, and very much involved in the choir as well. Tell us about your contribution in those areas.
Well, I like singing. I don't necessarily have a voice, but I did learn piano. I did 7th grade piano, and I used to lead all our practice sessions for the singing mostly. I used to start every morning with "Good morning, Mr. Hempel," and the children had to emulate. So yes, that's just I did music so important and good for the brain. Good for endorphins, feelings, yes.
You were at the school for a number of years as both a parent and a teacher.
Yes.
From those early days of your career here in the 80s and 90s, were there any significant people at that time who you feel made a really big contribution to Scots?
Well, we can't not mention Mr. Todd, of course, who came on board. And I can understand totally the teething problems and difficulties of when the two schools came together.
Yes.
And he came aboard, might have numbered 400, but grew up to 700 in his time. And other people, John Edwards, the principal of the primary school, not a tall man in stature, but big in humility, and then went on to become chaplain, and as a religious person, so understanding of people and their foibles, and just, so ecumenical, yes.
So that's the John Edwards
Theatre. It's named after him. And being a musical person, Ingrid Morgan, the Morgans came from Zimbabwe.
You mentioned, your involvement in productions. Are there any key productions over the years that stand out for you as favourites?
Les Mis, fabulous. I love Les Mis. I've seen it at the West End in London and Sydney, and I thought, oh, school children trying this. But the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. We had a couple of people that year who went on to do theatre as their livelihood, and it was amazing. In the infant section, we used to bumble along and do plays that had a lot of dialogue in them and little songs. And then Barb Tasker with her son Joel started writing snappy, short, 45, 50-minute little plays that were mostly songs, and like To the Moon and Back, and all these wonderful things that were just snappy and great for the kids, and so much easier for them.
Excellent. You've been involved as a parent.
Yes.
You're also now a grandparent.
Yes,
You have two lovely granddaughters. You've got Poppy and Evie.
Yes.
How do you see their experience compared to your own son and daughter's experience here as a school
Of course, technology's grown so much, and that's made a big difference to education. I think the core basic principles are still alive here and well, and that's good. They're so happy, and we're so grateful for them to have the opportunity to be here. They've got wonderful friendship groups.
Your own children, Chris and Kate, what do you think they got out of coming to Scots?
Well, their friendships are still based on way back there. They have other friends, of course, and it's probably very unusual, but they still keep in touch with children they went to school with in kindergarten, and a wide base of those children. Just the involvement in so many things, the opportunities, all the sporting teams and productions and musicals, and there was a feeling back then too, and hopefully today, that you give, and well, even with Poppy, I mean, she played netball at Tallangatta, but she still had to do the scoring for the brigade, and it's about giving back. If you participate in things, you give too.
And from what I've heard, Gay, you've used that almost as a mantra for your life about giving.
Well, I think it's a bit sad to live an insular life, and yes, just you need a reason to get out of bed every morning, and even at approaching 80. Keep going.
I know you're still involved in the school by helping out with the archives of different times. Tell us a little bit about, once you transitioned from school, from being a teacher here, how did you maintain that contact with Scots?
Well, Noelle Oak was in charge, whether she contacted me, but I love it. It's very forensic work, and I can look at a photo of 1988 and say, oh, perhaps I remember this occasion in these children, and particularly about following children through the school that went right through. Some who only were here for a short time might have forgotten about, but yes, it's really enjoyable, and I think it's so important to have that record too.
Oh, without
the
a doubt.
history, with 160 years, amazing.
Definitely. So, Gay, you sound like you still live a very full and committed life, a life of purpose. Tell us about some of the things that you contribute to or are involved in the broader Albury community
Okay,
now.
well, come to Archives on Monday, choir on Monday night, and Tuesday morning I'll volunteer at the Albury Wodonga Health Op shop. I'm on the Eisteddfod committee, so we're revving up for the Eisteddfod in August. I do Tai Chi in my village a few times a week, and I'm on call sometimes for looking after my little grandson, and
Excellent. So, if you had to give some advice to young people these days, based on you've lived such an amazing life, what would that advice be to young people?
Don't always be a taker, give back, and you'll get rewards for that in so many ways. And just commit to things. Yes.
What a beautiful message, and so meaningful for people. Gay, was there anything else you wanted to share with us about your time at Scots, your work here in the community?
No, it's been lovely to see the school develop and grow, particularly building-wise, with the new things, the chapel hall when it first came. And we used to do productions in the old hall, which then became the staff room, and now where the library is there. And then the cultural centre, and now the sports centre, and beyond. It's amazing the development that's happened, even in a reasonably short time in the history of the school.
We've got a very distinctive maroon blazer these days.
Yes.
But we've got these blazers from the past. Can you tell us a little bit about these?
Well, may I start with the grey one?
Yes, absolutely.
Because when the girls first came over from Woodstock, they all wore this, and I think it was a wonderful idea to change to the maroon one for everybody. And the girls still were wearing their grey tunics initially too, so quite distinct. But the uniform now is more homogeneous for them all. And this one here, my son wore one of these as a prefect. They lasted a few years, the light blue ones, and then they went to the navy, which I think is particularly smart. But these were very sort of stood out as being quite unusual. So that would have been in the early to mid-90s, perhaps, because by the time Kate was a prefect in 96, they'd gone to the navy blazer just for prefects. Yeah.
Gay, I'd like to take the opportunity on behalf of the many students you've taught, the many parents that you've worked with, the staff members here that you've been a great colleague with, and now from people right across the Albury community to say thank you, because you really do live the advice that you give. There's no doubt that you're a giver and the world needs more givers like you. So thank you for everything
Thank you, Mr.
you've done.
Hempel. Thank you. Thank you.